Hi, welcome to my next video. This time I wanted to show you something really exciting for me, because at last I got to this stage in making of the Yuragi comic that I have almost all the book ready, so I needed to paint the cover. First I did some really rough small thumbnails in Procreate just to decide what the cover should have. I had some options, but in the end I decided on the most obvious one, with the main character facing us and just standing in the water. And we can see the place where he lives, the stage of the story behind him, but it's all in shadow so we can see him better. This is a little bit difficult piece. It's also really important for the project, so I didn't want to make any mistakes. That's why I decided to do a full rough in Procreate first. I did the line work and then colored it as close to the image I had in my head as possible, so then I can use it as a reference when I'm painting with watercolors. For this image I aimed for really flat background, so I did not want to put too much contrast in the background. I decided to put it all in shadow so the character stands out more. After finishing the rough, I transferred it with pencils to my watercolor paper. I first printed it, of course, just the lines so I can use my tracing table and just trace the lines with pencils to the watercolor paper. I used the Mitsu-bishi Hi-Uni pencils as usual, grades from F to 5B I think, just to make a little bit more of a difference between the things that are in front and the things that are back in the background. I used the thickest, most soft lines for the character, for Gokita, to make him pop out from the background and to make the lines visible even though I will paint over them with watercolors. But before that, when I finished drawing the lines, I scanned them once, so later I can use them in post-production in Photoshop, so I can overlay them on the finished painting to make the lines more visible. I use the multiply mode for this layer. I have to use this trick because using softer pencils, like for example 8B, makes the line more unstable, so when you paint over them with watercolors they tend to bleed the graphite. So for example, in places where the line is thick and the color is light, like the face of the character, the color can become kind of muddy and dirty and grayish. There are pencils that are really black and do not bleed the blackness when you paint over them with watercolors, like for example the Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencils, but those pencils have the minus of being non-erasable, so if you make a mistake you won't be able to fix it with erasing. While painting here I tried to get the same flat look as I got in the rough, so I used more layers here than I usually use in my paintings. I tend to just pick the color and fill in the space, but here I needed to layer the details just gradually, not to overdo them and not to put too much contrast in the background. So first I did some washes and then I used really thinned paint to add the trees and the details of the houses in the background. I only tried to protect the light blue wash that I did first, just to make the windows pop out a little bit. I used the same technique, the layering technique, on the water. So first I did a quite complicated wash, that is the nice base gradation, and then painted the dark tones on top of that. I only tried to protect the reflection that is on the bottom right side. I did not use so much masking fluid this time because I wanted to have a little bit more control where the paper will be white. I had a lot of fun painting in the dark washes on the water and painting the smoke and fire effect that comes from the character's chest. You have to read the story to know what it's all about. But I tried also to keep the coloring on the character kind of simple. I did not do any strong shadows, I did not do any little small details like, I don't know, text on his t-shirt or something like that, again to make it pop out from the background. The next step was taking the masking fluid off and finishing off the smoke effect. I had to use a little bit of white paint here to make it more smoky and fluid. I used the Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white for this, along with a Kolinsky hair tipped brush, so I can make the lines nice and clean. After adding some white highlights here and there, the last step was just to scan the picture and edit it in Photoshop. This is how the final version looks like. But of course this is just the illustration and it has to be made into a cover, so I needed to make the logo and add some text to it. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm really excited about this project. Also, because it's almost ready, I only have to edit a few pages and add some text here and there, and it's ready, and you'll be able to buy it online. And those of you who support me on Patreon on the $5 level will be able to download it for free using a special code. Okay, that's it for this video. As always, feel free to share, comment and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye!